Hey guys, welcome to the Production Happy Hour. I'm Isaac, our head blender, here today with Jeff Eddington, our COO. We're going to talk about our new releases of Mad Angler, both the Bourbon and the Bottled and Bond. So yeah, we're starting out with the Bourbon. We decided to go with a 6-year age statement on this just because we had our 5-year and we were like, we think we can do this one step better. We think we can go one step beyond what we did the year before. So we decided to focus in and find barrels at this higher age statement that we think really worked together well and created a good blend. And that's kind of how we came across our 6-year.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think is super important that we do on our labels is we put the mash bill right on there, which just gives everybody the information on what's in their hand, what they're drinking. So I'll just read off our bourbon mash bills. 70% yellow corn we get from our local farmer who farms our fields as well. 60% winter wheat, which we get from our farm. 9% malted barley, which we get from our good friends at Great Lakes Malting. Shout out to them. 5% are estate-grown Hazlitt rye, which is our variety rye that we grow here on the farm. So it's got a little bit of everything in there. The corn really comes through at 70%. The Great Lakes have a great influence on the terroir of the region. Michigan's got a great barley scene, thanks to the craft brewers who, kind of built that up. So there's really some great grain of barley grown in the area. Wheat and rye have always been a good feed crop, and corn as well, obviously.
So yeah, we made the decision to kind of go up from, last year our product was 5 years old. This year we're going for 6-year. And big part of that was, one, we wanted to see if we could get a higher level of maturity and also a bit more of a toastiness to come out of the product. That was kind of the goal I had going forward, was something that represented more of the age of where Ironfish is at currently, because we are getting a little bit older as a distillery, so having a product that kind of reflects that was kind of my goal when looking at this product and tasting through all the barrels. And I think we were able to accomplish that. I think we came across something that has a little bit more body to it, a bit more maturity, touch more earthiness, but keeps those baked qualities together as well. And I think overall like a nice toasty, baked good, and spiced profile comes through, and I think it really highlights what was good about the 5-year while also adding in new nuances that you can discover when you try this.
Yeah, I really like how the different barrels that we use kind of play into it. We have these Icon barrels from Sangamon Row, which is out of Napa, California. They have these really nice, really unique barrels that, each barrel stave is very cohesive to the ones around it. So it's kind of really unique. And at 3-4 years, it's actually a little pretty intense, but, at 5 years, it was really mellowing out, but the 6 years, it kind of really went over that edge. So we taste those next to some of our Crow's Nest barrels from our local Cooper, Crow's Nest barrels out of Grand Rapids. Just the flavor profile of those two different barrels, Isaac really did a good job of blending those and seeing, different good aspects in each of those barrels is really kind of coming together at that 6 years. Kind of excited to see what a 7-year, but I really think, that 5 to 6 years is probably going to be the sweet spot for the bourbon.
And that's a really good point. The multiple different barrel profiles we have now that we can work with, just how much our library has advanced over the last few years. So like you said, we can use the Crow's Nest barrels, we can use the Icon barrels. We're getting in different barrel types that we can try to play with and blend together and figure out new profiles that really work for our product, And I think that's really reflective in this batch.
Yeah, I'm really getting, especially for the Mad Angler bourbon, I'm tasting that Icon, that char level that I always get, which was pretty intense the first few years, but it's really kind of mellowing out. But it's getting that really good toastiness that it's, that's what makes me really excited about this 6-year bourbon.
You do get a little bit of grain influence on the nose, but I think mostly it is that like toasty, baked quality that kind of comes through for me. I always describe it as kind of being similar to donuts, but.
Yeah, I like the, just right off the bat, it's, even before you get to the actual, aspects of it, you just get just the feel of it. It's just soft, delicate, slightly sweet. You can just tell right off the bat when you just nose it that it's going to be, a really smooth, delicate, interesting, whiskey. And then you kind of get into those flavors that you're just talking about, the donut, the spice, obviously big corn. You start to get a little even, apricot, fruity type flavor on the nose as well. Yeah, I think, our blending process, which maybe you can talk a little bit about, it really just adds to the body and the feel of it. It starts off nice and sweet and rounded, and we talk a lot about in our distillation process and in our blending process about the feel of it. It can't just be like, hey, here's good flavor. It's got to be the full drink. When you take it, with the aroma, when it hits your palate, it's got to kind of cover everything, and it can't just be like drop off flavor or just be like really, really weak, then boom, intense flavor.
It's about the overall sensation in its entirety, It's not just, what's this one taste you get on the palate, what's this one taste you get as it lingers in the back of your throat or anything like that, It really is like the whole experience together. And like you were saying, I think the blending process really helps with that when we go through and you're really trying to select barrels and, you're not just picking the best of the best barrels, because sometimes you do that and it's like, okay, well, this tastes really good, but it doesn't have that overall feeling or vibe or sensation like you're talking about, So we really go through and pick out the ones that we think are going to add in, here's a bit of earthy quality, now let's have a sweet quality, and now this one is really grain forward, so like, how do we mix those all together to really just make a full package deal? And I think that's what's really reflective in our product.
Yeah, no, and our whole Mad Angler line, exactly. That's exactly what we're going for. And I think that's kind of what sets the 6-year apart from the 5-year even more, is because it is, way more well-rounded, in profile and delicacy. That's kind of when, you're getting kind of to that sweet spot in the delicacy. It's not just intense, punching in the face, Mike Tyson style. It's,
Again, my mind always goes back to like donuts and glaze and like powdered sugar and that kind of thing,
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about our Mad Angler Bottle and Bond. This is a wheat forward whiskey. Mash bill on the back is a 51% wheat grown on the farm here. 15.3% of rye grown up at our friends up in the Upper Peninsula, the Ron Collins farm. Shout out to them. 11.2% of Northern Michigan malted barley from our good friends at Great Lakes Malting, and 22% of corn grown from our local farmer as well. So all local. It's kind of cool to use that UP rye to have that two peninsula effect on that whiskey. It's kind of fun. I like our bottle and bond. It's kind of unique. A bottle and bond could really kind of be pretty much any type of whiskey, as long as it fits the bottle and bond rules. But we don't have a normal Mad Angler wheat whiskey. So the stuff that we did have is a 4-grain whiskey that was heavy wheat, that we decided to put out at bottle and bond proof wise, because of we did our tastings on it and it just tasted fantastic at 100 proof. So it just made sense. It's obviously going to be over 4 years old. Obviously distilled here, so no issues there. So having that bottle and bond as a wheated whiskey, people see a bottle and bond and kind of associate that it's going to be a good solid, higher proof style whiskey. But people aren't necessarily used to a wheat. I think people naturally really like wheat whiskey. You'll see your Maker's Mark fans and stuff. They really like a high wheat bourbon. So a high wheat whiskey, it was good to put it in the bottle and bond package, you get it out there. It always kind of takes people by surprise of just how good it is. And then they ask what it is, and they're like, oh, it's a high wheat, 51% wheat. Just really not really kind of know what to expect. It's a great introduction to wheat whiskeys.
Yeah, and I feel like you can really get that wheat as it like helps round out the body and like the sensation and mouthfeel of the bottled and bond whiskey, I kind of feel like this one, kind of comparatively to the bourbon, has a little bit more of that earthiness going on, but it's still on the sweeter side of earthiness as well. It's like a nice tobacco-y kind of thing that comes forward sometimes, a touch of smoke, something like that just really complements and just kind of lingers on your palate a little bit longer.
Yeah, you definitely get the tobacco leather more in the bottle and bond than you do the bourbon. The bourbon's, like you were saying earlier, more, more delicate, more softer, sugary, a little bit fruity, where, this is a little more spicy, you get that rye, you get that heavy wheat, you get that, hey, this is really interesting, there's stuff going on here, but you get the deeper notes like the leather and the tobacco. Yeah, and it's really good, kind of all-around whiskey. It has all 4 of those grains. It does have a high percentage of corn at 22%, to kind of counteract that wheat. So it does have all the elements, a normal bourbon drinker would, is looking for. But it just has that little something to make it a little special, a little unique, something that people can, share with their friends if they've never had it, and hey, check this out. This is kind of interesting. Let me know what you think about it, because it does have that approachability from all different aspects, from a rye drinker, from a bourbon drinker. So yeah.
Yeah, it still has that sweetness like you might expect from a, like a traditional bourbon, a little bit of that vanilla, a little bit of that sugar. It's still there. It's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more delicate than you might expect, but it's still there, and it helps round out the entire profile.
Yeah, so we're really excited, to put out these, 6-year age statement whiskeys. We've been working really hard, to really get our unique, grain-grown product out in the market. So we're really excited about this Mad Angler Bourbon, this Mad Angler Bottle and Bond. These are actually both available in the distillery right now. So check your local stores and pick one up, check it out, let us know what you think. We're excited about it.
Thanks, everyone.